Mr. Bola was a very rich man, but he was also the stingiest man anyone had ever known. He had so much money, yet he lived like someone who had nothing. His stinginess pushed everyone away from him. His family members avoided him completely, even his own mother. Nobody liked visiting his house because anytime money was involved, Mr. Bola would suddenly disappear or pretend not to understand. He lived alone in a small one-room parlor flat, even though he owned 3 companies, 2 big stores, and an electronics shop. He had 2 cars, but many days he preferred to trek to work or take a tricycle, just to save money. Looking at him, nobody would believe he was wealthy. He was always skinny, wore old clothes, and lived as if he were managing life. Because of his stingy behavior, women avoided him. Girls who once tried to date him suffered badly. He never spent money on dates, gifts, or care. As a result, at 31 years old, Mr. Bola was still single, with no serious relationship and no children. One day, he traveled to his village and went deep into a remote town. There, he saw a 20-year-old girl named Hugo. She was young, simple, and came from a poor family. Mr. Bola asked for her hand in marriage and gave her family only a small cup of palm wine. He promised to return later to pay her bride price and do the traditional marriage. The parents believed they had found a rich son-in-law and happily released their daughter to him, full of hope that their lives would change. When Hugo followed Mr. Bola to the city, she quickly realized she had made the biggest mistake of her life. She saw the real Mr. Bola. Yes, he had money, but he was extremely stingy. He showed her no care, no love, and no concern. Hugo continued wearing the same old clothes and slippers she had come from the village in. Meals in the house were terrible. One day it was plain rice without anything, another day it was yams and palm oil. Meanwhile, money was sitting in Mr. Bola's bank account. Even buying drugs was a problem. When Hugo once complained of serious stomach pain, Mr. Bola refused to give her money to go to the pharmacy. Instead, he brought out a local herbal medicine and forced her to drink it, claiming it worked faster than hospital drugs. Life became harder every day. Mr. Bola could not even give Hugo money to braid her hair. Sometimes, he would give her just 500 Nigerian nairas and tell her to manage it. When her slippers finally tore completely, he told her not to worry. On his way back from work, he bought her cheap bathroom slippers and proudly told her they would last longer than fancy slippers. Hugo was shocked and deeply hurt. She felt trapped. She had believed marriage would save her family from poverty, but instead, she had entered a prison of suffering. Hugo did not even have a proper phone. She used an old Nokia phone she brought from the village. Anytime she asked for a new phone, Mr. Bola would say, "Your phone is still good. Is it not for calling?" He called smartphones vanity and a waste of money. He never celebrated birthdays, not his own and not his wife's. Whenever he made a big profit in business, the only celebration was 1 can of malt for Hugo, with promises that more would come later. After some months, Hugo became pregnant, and that was when her suffering became worse. Mr. Bola refused to allow her attend antenatal care, saying it was unnecessary. Every morning, he would make her run up and down the stairs and claim that exercise was better than hospital checkups. He personally bought cheap drugs from the chemist and used his own hand to prescribe them. It was only God that saved Hugo and the baby. As her delivery date approached, there were still no baby items. When she asked, Mr. Bola kept saying, "I will sort it out." One evening, he came home with a small baby bed, a drawer, and a few clothes. He said that was all the baby needed and that anything extra was a waste of money. That night, Hugo cried silently and begged God to save her. When the baby was born, Mr. Bola managed to pay the hospital bill. He was happy and welcomed his child with joy, but his stinginess did not change. He gave his wife a very small amount of money. When friends came to visit, he shared only biscuits and powdered drinks. People secretly gifted Hugo money and items, which she hid from her husband. A few days later, the baby needed an injection, but Mr. Bola refused to pay. Hugo had to secretly take money from him to save her child. One night, the baby suddenly fell seriously ill. He struggled to breathe. Hugo begged her husband to rush to the hospital, but Mr. Bola insisted hot water was enough. Hugo ignored him and ran to the hospital with her baby. Sadly, the hospital demanded payment before treatment. She called her husband repeatedly, begging him to pay, but he refused. She cried and begged the nurses, but it was too late. After hours of waiting, the baby died. Broken and angry, Hugo carried her dead child to the police station and told them everything. Mr. Bola was arrested, charged to court, and sentenced to prison. He begged for forgiveness and explained that his stinginess came from the suffering he faced while building his wealth. But it was too late. His wealth was shared among his family and his wife. Life is hard, but kindness and support can save lives. Being rich means nothing if you cannot help others. Do not be a stingy billionaire. Be a giver. Your family and loved ones need you. Stinginess destroys lives.